Yeah, crown me king, tell them Peter.
Shalom, and welcome to another edition here on the Genesis 49ers page, where we say no to vague interpretations and we give thorough breakdowns. Shalom, and welcome to another edition here on the Genesis 49ers page, where we say no to vague interpretations and we give thorough breakdowns. In today's lesson, we will be going over the slaves who knew they were Jews. Because you have people that oppose the truth, that propose the question, can you show me one slave that get off a slave ship claiming to be a Jew? Challenge accepted, and we will show it. And I have shown it before, glimpses of it before. I showed it in my last presentations and presentations that I have done in the past. But this presentation is just dedicated on that alone. So if someone proposes the question to you, show me a slave that got off a slave ship claiming to be a Jew. Challenge accepted. We're going to be able to do it. After watching this video, taking notes and writing down the sources and examining the work, you're going to be able to answer it as well, family. So brothers and sisters, we're going to get right into it. First slide. Judeo. The negroid type among Jews is yet to be mentioned. One occasionally meets with a Jew whose skin is very dark. Why does it say occasionally? Meaning this is not something that's far-fetched. This happens. Okay? It says the hair black and woolly, the head long with a prominent occiput, the face is prognathous, the two jaws are projecting in the form of a muzzle, the lips are large, thick, and upturned, and the nose flat, broad, and the wings upturned so that the nostrils can be seen in profile. This negroid type can be singled out at any large assembly of Jews. They are often mistaken for mulattoes, and the author knows of one who had considerable difficulty to get along in one of the southern states of America. So we have a Jew, a negroid Jew in America, a dark-skinned Jew in America. Okay, and this also gives you the negroid phenotype for Jews. And that's from the Jews by Maurice Fishberg, page 125. So that this source kills two birds with one stone. Next slide. Remember, the question proposed to our community is, can we show a slave that got off a slave ship claiming to be a Jew? Here you go. This is Hebrewisms of West Africa by Joseph J. Williams, page 14 to 15. It says, as a matter of fact, Hebrewisms of African derivation are not confined to Jamaica among the West Indian Islands. Blair Niles, in her recent delightful little volume, Black Haiti, speaking of the slaves from Africa, positively asserts some were said to be descendants of Jews. So who is she talking about? The slaves from Africa. Some were said to be descendants of Jews mixed with Negroes. Why do they say mixed with Negroes? To accompany and attribute their dark phenotype, their skin color. Because what the lie that has been pushed in the world is that Jews are supposed to be Caucasoid or Caucasian, right? You've seen the Ten Commandments. How did the Jews look on the Ten Commandments? Charleston is a white man. He's supposed to portray ancient Israelites. Those are not how ancient Israelites look. The ancient Israelites are negroid, which I have covered in my prior videos. But again, speaking of the slaves from Africa, positively asserts some were said to be descendants of Jews mixed with Negroes. These were tall, well-built men whose features had a Caucasian cast and whose language was clearly Semitic in character. Dr. Price Mars, whom she quotes as an authority, also claims a distant Semitic infiltration in the antecedents of some of the San Domingo slaves. So there we go. We have the quote by Maurice Fishberg shows a Jew, a Negroid Jew in America, in the southern states of America. This shows Jews in Haiti and San Domingo, right? So we already accomplished what we came here to do, but we have more. Sephardi. I have brought this before. I have brought this out before, and I'll continue to bring it out because it's a powerful point that cannot be refuted. Sephardi, right? Many of the, here's the thing. The word Sephardi, or Sephardic, just means separated. We are all Sephardic Jews because we are separated from our homeland. Okay? But let's get into the quote. Many of the Jews who were banished from Portugal by John II settled in the West Indies. John Bigelow, who visited Jamaica in 1850, saw the descendants of these Jews and say they were negroid. And the source is Nature Knows No Color Line, page 123 and 130. So he saw the descendants of these Portuguese Jews and Jamaicans. Oh, these are Sephardic Jews, and they're negroid. They're negroid people. Okay, and one of the famous rabbis of Jamaica, he said it himself that there's over 400,000 Jews in Jamaica, and he said these Jews are not converts, simply converts, but Jews, Sephardic Jews coming back to their roots. You had the Ashkenazi Edomite Jews say that. He admitted it, because we know over 200,000 black people are Jews. And he's equating them to Sephardic Jews as well. I'm going to bring that article out on Genesis 49ers one day, and we're going to go over it and dissect it. Next slide. Now, this is my following source. Just put it out here so you viewers, brothers and sisters that are watching, you want to look this up yourself, you can have the whole title, okay? Muslim slaves abducted Moors, African Jews, misnamed Turks. So this is going to go over Moors that have been abducted, African Jews, and misnamed Turks, and Asiatic Greek lady. Some examples of non-European religious and ethnic diversity in South Carolina prior to 1861. By James W. Hagee. James W. Hagee is a professor of history at the College of Charleston. He welcomes suggestions about other individuals who might be included in an article such as this. So this is the source. I'm going to go into it for the next, I think, 3 slides. Okay, so pause the video if you want to write this down. Next slide. Black Jews. We have Billy Simmons, a noted scholar in Hebrew and Arabic from the Special Collection Library College of Charleston, South Carolina. James W. Hagee, Muslim Slaves, page 25. Now, Billy Simmons was a slave. He was brought into slavery, and he was a scholar of Hebrew and Arabic. He was a Jew. And we're going to get into the article, and we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this. More black Jews, James W. Hagee, Muslim slaves, at 26. And we're going to start in 1786. 2 men appeared in Charleston dressed in the Moorish habit and aroused a great deal of suspicion by their strange ways. Therefore, an officer of the law began to try to question them. The Moors, he found, did not know English and resented the suspicious lawmen. According to an officer, the men became impertinent and vulgar. As a result, the lawman gave one of the fellows a little manual correction by way of reforming his manners. So he most likely tried to strike him. It says, by this time a mob had gathered and the authorities feared a riot might break out. Finally, they determined that the two were of the Jewish nation. So these two brothers in Charleston, dressed like Moors, they said these two are the Jewish nation. These brothers, these mysterious brothers, they are the Jewish nation. They then took the men to the home of a woman in East Bay Street who understood their language. She found that the two had sailed from Algeria to Virginia, where they had been arrested on suspicion of being Algerines. They had been traveled overland to South Carolina. Obviously, the lady on East Bay Street spoke Arabic. Also, the petition of 1753 to the council was in Arabic. Therefore, at least a few people in Charleston were familiar with the language. The 1786 incident is mentioned in Charles Resenkoff's The Jews of Charleston, a history of an American Jewish community. The Arabic-speaking lady was possibly Mrs. Starr Barrett, a Jew who was born in Barbary States. In the Barbary States. Remember that? Keep that in your mind, because we're going to touch on Jews in the Barbary States. According to her obituary, in 1820, she was born in 1699, which would have made her 120 years of age at the time of her death. A writer in the Southern Patriot, January 14, 1820, stated she had visited the four corners of the globe and was fluent in English, Spanish, Italian, French, Morisco, or Frank, which was spoken in the Barbary states, and Arabic. Indeed, she could speak, write, and translate Arabic and knew Hebrew as well. From the Barbary states, the family migrated to Spain, and from there she had moved to England, where she resided for 30 to 40 years before coming to Charleston. So that's who they speculate the woman was, who translated for the two brothers from Algiers, which were said to be of the Jewish nation. So somebody, show me somebody that came on. There you go. Two brothers. Here we go. It gets better. Another Jew from Africa was Billy Simmons, a black slave, according to Simmons, who was owned by the editor of the Charleston Daily Courier. He was born in Madagascar, lived in the Barbary states, and arrived in South Carolina while quite young. So this is a slave that came off a slave ship, right? Keep that in mind. Came from Madagascar to the Barbary states to South Carolina. He may in fact have arrived with relatives of Star Barrett who could have converted him. So there we go. They had a thought. This is what they postulated. He could have been a convert. But guess what? Star Barrett could have been a Negro Jew. Okay? But watch this. He, however, insisted that he belonged to a tribe of Israelites known as Rechabites, who are mentioned in Jeremiah 35. But himself, his own, what he has to say about himself, his own autobiography, he says that he is not converted. He comes from a tribe of Israelites. His Jewishness cannot be questioned because two of the Hazarim or cantors of the congregation of Beth Elohim in the 1850s wrote about him and attested to his devotion. Dr. Julius Ekman reported to the Weekly Gleaner, January 16, 1857, on his exemplary devotion on Yom Kippur, and Maurice Mayer described Simmons in 1859 German magazines as the most observant of those who go to the synagogue. So nobody was questioning him. They was like, this guy is legit. This slave is legit. He is a Jew. As a slave, Simmons earned his keep by delivering newspapers. His ragged clothes and top hat made him one of the best known figures in the city. One account in the Knickerbocker, and we're going to get right back to this after we touch on the Jews of Algeria, the Jews of the Barbary states of Africa. Because it's important we touch on this. Because remember, they postulated about Mrs. Star Barrett. It says, the author was unable to distinguish a Jew from a Mohammedan while passing along the streets of Algiers, Constantine, and Tunis. It is remarkable that among the non-Jewish natives, there are so many Jews of negroid type, showing a decided Negro infusion. So the Jews of the Barbary states, a lot of them were negroid. So Mrs. Star Barrett could have very well been a Negroid Jew. And the source is The Jew by Maurice Fishberg, page 142 to 144. And to the right, we have the Algerian bust. And this is a Jewess. They're depicting a Jewess. What color is she? Does she look like she related to Charleston Heston from the Ten Commandments? No. Her skin is dark brown. She's Negroid. She's Negroid. It's that simple. Now, we're going to get right back into that article about James W. Hagen. Page 27 of that article, to be exact. It says, the magazine of 1843 states that Billy the Jew was the blackest, raggedest, shrewdest, quickest, richest, and honest slave in the whole states of South Carolina. Furthermore, he was an accomplished scholar in Hebrew and Arabic. When he died, his obituary appeared on the front page of the Daily Courier, December 12, 1859. So far we have mentioned a black Jew in America, in the southern states of America. We mentioned the fact that the Haitian slaves were said to be descendants of Jews, and the same thing for the San Domingo slaves. And we brought up another case with the two brothers from Algiers that came over and was arrested in Virginia, and they wound up in South Carolina. And they were said to be of the Jewish nation, and they conversed with, some people think, Mrs. Barrett, another Jew. Then we brought up Billy Simmons, which was a slave who said he came from Madagascar to the Barbary states and ended up in South Carolina as a slave. And he, by his own admission, said that he comes from a tribe of Israelites. So the question that was proposed, show me one slave that got off a slave ship and claimed to be a Jew, has been answered emphatically. No debating. It's clear. It's clear. Now, the next article is Joseph Ben Haley, which sound Yusuf Ben Ali, and it talks about his dark-skinned descendants or whatever. He could have been a Jew. They don't postulate that, but he could have been, or he could have just been a Moor, which we know a lot of the Moors were Jews that had adapted the Arabic faith, the Islamic faith. Because a lot of Jews during the Middle Ages would convert into Islam the same reason they would convert into Christianity, out of fear. Okay, but that's for another lesson. Let's get to the next slide. Mulatto. Here's another Jew found in America, 1663. This was early, right? And the first slaves purported to come into the states or the colonies happened in 1619. So let's read this. It says Solomon is described as a mulatto Jew. The first Jew living in New England, it was seen, was of Negro descent. This occurred in 1663. Source: Atlanta University Review of Race and Culture, Volume 3, page 215. Now, this Jew, the reason why we have these records, because it's a court record. Because he was on trial for traveling on the Sabbath day. And they describe him as a mulatto Jew, a black Jew, a dark-skinned Jew. In 1663 in New England. So again, the question was proposed. The question was proposed. Could we show a slave that got off a slave ship claiming to be a Jew? We have done that, and plus more. But we have Genesis 49, you know the slogan. We say no to vague interpretations, and we give thorough breakdowns. We have thoroughly broke this down. Okay, so the brothers and sisters that are watching, write these sources down, write this information down, so if someone comes to you trying to challenge your faith and challenge your race and who you are, you will have a defense and be able to defend the gospel. Because that's all these people want to do. They just want to tear down the brothers' faith so they can get you to be shooken, okay? And be like the, I guess in Mark 3, the 4 type of Israelites. The one that's not rooted is easily, taken by every wind. But here in Genesis 49, we're trying to root you into the deep, good soil. Okay? That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get you rooted. We're trying to get you those nutrients. We're trying to build you and make you grow. Okay? That's why we have to stop being so dogmatic and start to research this information and be able to present the information on a scholastic level. All right? That we may convince the gainsayers, because some gainsayers, they're just not going to be convinced. But nonetheless, Solomon was a mulatto Jew in the 1663 in the New England area. I think Boston for sure. Boston is where it occurred at. So we have answered the question, can you show me a Jew who got off a slave ship claiming to be a Jew? But this is bonus right here. The next 2 slides are going to be bonus. We're going to go into it. Nero, it says, in 1808, Nero Prince was elected as the 2nd Grand Master of the African Grand Lodge of the Masons. So the African Grand Lodge is ran by what? Dark-skinned people. Okay? By one account, Nero Prince was said to be a native of Russia, a Jew who identified with colored people. Source: Russia and the Negro by Allison Blakely, page 16. What does it mean identify with colored people? He's saying they're the same race. And to corroborate this source and this quote that he was a Jew of Russia, we got another source to the right. It says the Tsarist officials frequently listed Negroes as Arabs and Jews. So what did they do? They identified Negroes as Jews. And some of them as Arabs. In the Russian language, they would say Arapi, right? Arapi. And that source is Africans in Russia by Leah Golden Hunger, page 10. Herself, she was a black Russian. And she wrote about what the Tsars, meaning the leading government officials, had listed Negroes as. So it's not far-fetched to see Nero Prince was a Jew from Russia. That was black. And he was elected the second Grand Master of the African Grand Lodge of the Masons. That's historic. Again, Genesis 49 is we are here to present you the facts. This is not being talked about and taught in schools, not being taught in mainstream. So it's our job to pick up the slack and bring this information to our people to encourage, edify, and build. Final slide. Now I'm bringing these two articles up for a reason, because there was a debate that happened on Sinetta, I believe, about a month ago. And on this debate, General Hashar had presented the article to the left. And when he presented the article to the left, he brought out some beautiful information about a brother having a conversation and interview in Hartford, Connecticut, in the Houston article. It was published in Houston. Okay? So he brought out this beautiful information about this brother. Then you had another group, which I'm going to just call Butter Knife Squad, had brought out an article to the right saying, oh, this is the article you read, which is not the article General Hashar had brought up, to challenge the original article. So we're going to read it. The article to the left, it says, Negro who can write Hebrew. He is deaf and dumb and comes from an African town. Hartford, Connecticut, September 19. A young African Negro has been in this city for the last few days who claims to be a Hebrew. He is deaf and dumb and as black as the ace of spades. He carries a pad of paper with him and answers all questions by writing them in Hebrew and Lashon Kodesh. What excites the most wonder is that he writes Lashon Kodesh very rapidly. So he wasn't a novice to this. He's been doing this his whole life. You got to peep that. I'm going to keep reading. It is the language of the books of Moses and is made a special study of, spoken and written with ease only by the rabbis and highly educated Hebrews. So this cannot just be someone that just converted. This is somebody that has been living in the Judaic faith for his whole life, because this is the skill that he possessed is only something rabbis and highly educated Hebrews possess. So this should tell you something. It says the Negro was sent to one of the rabbis of Hartford who was perfectly satisfied that he is a Hebrew. Now the rabbi of Hartford was like, oh, this is a Hebrew. He didn't say, oh, this is someone that's converting or a faker or an imposter. He says that he came from a large town in Africa where there is a tribe of about 20,000 black Hebrews who speak Lashon Kodesh and are quite prosperous. He also says that his father is a rabbi in that town, and that is why his father took the trouble to teach him to write these languages, which needed an extra amount of labor on account of his being deaf and dumb. He says his people not only write Lashon Kodesh, but it is their speaking language as well. He left home a few years ago and has seen a good deal of the world. In each town, he hunts up the Jewish section, and there they give him clothes, food, and money. What surprises him is he writes is that no Hebrew knows of his countrymen in Africa. Now, this is the article that General Hashar brought out, and it was powerful. So you had Butter Knife Squad by Garfield the Cat. You know, he's the leader, I guess. He came with the article on the right to try to combat the article to the left. Now, mind you, the article to the left Didn't mention anything about conversion. It tells you that he says that he comes from a group of 20,000 Hebrews, okay, that were born Israelites. That's it. That's what he says. It doesn't say anything about converting, and he says he traveled the world. Okay? Let's read the article to the right. Now, mind you, this is the same year, 1897, 1 September 19th. The article to the left is later than the one to the right, but I want you to read. We want to read and analyze what the one on the right that was written or published April 8th of 1897, the same year. Let's read it. It says, a native African who is deaf and dumb reads Hebrew and says he is a Jew. Special dispatch to the Baltimore Sun. Cumberland, Maryland, April 8th. Cumberland had an unusual visitor today. One Samuel Waskavi, who is a Jew and at the same time an African. He hails from South Africa. He is a mute, 29 years of age, is of splendid physique, and is a barber by trade. He applied to the Rabbi J.L. Stern for aid, which was given by him and other resident Hebrews. Waskavi is a full-fledged African in color and features. This evening he called on Rabbi Stern again. An unusual conversation took place with the aid of a pad and pencil. Waskavi writes German and Hebrew characters with remarkable accuracy and rapidity. Now you got to remember that he traveled the world, so this is not far-fetched. And he did this with a high skill level. So that means he just didn't just convert to it. He was born into it. It's a difference. In fact, Rabbi Stern admitted that he could excel him. So Rabbi Stern like, dang, man, he has the potential and ability to surpass even my knowledge and skill of the language. Waskavi being so proficient because it is his language, Waskavi kept his hat on while in the rabbi's house, a custom with the Orthodox Jews. Now, everything's factual from here. Him hailing from South Africa, him having that skill, okay, the conversation he had with the rabbi. Now we're going to get to the postulation. This is the point they tried to make as a contention. It said Dr. Stern said that there were Negro Jews in both North and South Africa, which is facts. Russian and Polish Jews had migrated to these points and Negroes were converted to Jewish faith. That's a postulation of surmising. Because again, we read the article to the left and the brother said nothing about being converted. And we know of the South African Jews that have been keeping the faith for thousands and thousands of years, being known as the Limba. Okay, we know about the Limba. But he had postulated. Why? Because Esau has a forked tongue. And you had the brothers of Butter Knife Swad tried to use this and say, oh, he was a convert. Nowhere in this article says that he was a convert. This is a postulation. He says Russian and Polish Jews had migrated to these points and Negroes were converted to the Jewish faith. That's him saying that. That's him postulating. That's what happened. That's not him proving it. It says sometimes Negroes purchased by Jewish slave traders accepted Judaism and after circumcision were given their freedom a full-fledged Orthodox Jew. Again, we don't see anything indicating that this happened to him. To the left, again, we're going to read the left article again. Let's watch this. Because remember, the bottom part of the Queen City Visitor is Dr. Stern postulating. Right? The article to the left is actually the brother, his own interview, his own autobiography, so to speak. His own admission. It says, he says that he came from a large town in Africa where there is a tribe of about 20,000 black Hebrews who speak Lashon Kodesh and are quite prosperous. That's what he said. He didn't say anything about conversion. So with that, we're going to end it. But remember, if anybody proposes you with the question, we have the source material to combat that. Someone asks you, hey, show me one Jew that came off a slave ship that claimed to be a Jew. Or one African that came off a slave ship claimed to be a Jew. We showed you the black Haitians. Okay, San Domingo. We showed you the two brothers that came from Algiers that went to Virginia and got arrested, ended up in South Carolina. We showed you Billy Simmons, who came from Madagascar to the Barbary states, and from there ended up in South Carolina as a slave. And he was a Hebrew and Arabic scholar. And even Miss Barrett could have been a black Jew, because the Negro Jews are still to this day known to be in the Barbary states. Nahum salutes in the travels of North Africa, he writes about these Jews being of all fine dark type. He writes about the descendants of Kohen, of them being dark and black skinned Jews called the Cretes, may come from the word Cretan. Okay? So we understand and we have the knowledge and understanding. So I'm praying that you brothers and sisters took notes, took your time, dissect this video. We provide the sources so you brothers can grow from it. So with that, I'm going to say shalom. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I appreciate all the love and I appreciate all the subscribers. We're at about 460 subscribers. We're trying to get more and more and more. I'm praying my goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Okay? And I'm going to continue to provide you with content, educational content, scholastic content, so you can grow and learn from this. So subscribe, like. If you agree, comment below. If you disagree, comment respectfully, okay, below. And share the video on the social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Let's get this truth out there, family. Let's get this message to the four corners of the earth. And that's still that number. With that, I conclude. Genesis 49ers signing off.